hundreds of people down there, literally. It was a breath of fresh air. That first year, Rod realized that this was a good thing for the festival and booked us the next year, '93, as a show here at Threadgill, Camp California series. And we played '93 and '95. Rod came down there a lot and hung out with us because we were having fun, and hundreds of people. There was a point where there was literally 100 guitars around our campfire down there. And I remember a night there where we played gospel tunes till 7 in the morning. It's such a thing to do. Was right down there. I met David Massagill, showed up one day. I had been playing David Massagill songs since the 80s. I came back from New York City and Greenwich Village playing David Massagill tunes. And he came up to me and Chuck and said, can I camp with you? Do you have a tent for me? And me and Chuck got so excited because we've been playing David Massagill tunes for 15 years that he got a little nervous, He said, yeah, come on, we got a tent, we got everything you want. And you know how that is. So he was a little, but he did camp with us and took me for the first time to Third Crossing. And it was David that we swam up past Richard's place long before it was Richard's place because Richard wasn't there then. I remember it was David Massagill, me and L.J. Booth and John Smith and Keith Greninger, a few other people. We swam up past there and we would take these flat rocks that were perfect in the river and we'd skip them because they have the perfect flat rocks there. And it was here, just down there, where I met L.J. and John Smith, '93. He said, come on over here, you got to hear this tune Niki Lehman's playing. Another time, TPR, I met TPR down there in '93, Tom Prasado Rao. A guy came over to me one night and said, hey, are you Niki Lehman? I say, yeah. He said, well, my friend told me to look you up because you look just like him. That was Ellis Paul. Another person came down really shy, said, Niki, you got to meet these guys. It was a very shy Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer. And they played a tune for me. Down there in those days, I go down to Coho, and Gary and Alan were still down there, and they're still down there now. In those days, Cozy Sheridan and T.R. Ritchie were a couple, and they played tunes. Andrew Calhoun and Cat Eggleston. And I started playing Diamond Mines, and that was one of my songs. I realized in '92, one of the things Chuck Brodsky and my friend Tom and me came back with was, there's a lot of good songwriters down here. We're going to have to step up our game. So I came back and wrote probably one of the best songs I've ever written, Diamond Mines. We're going to play it a little bit later for you. With Bill and Mary Muse and Bernice Lewis, who I met down there. She was playing main stage. That was a big deal for us in those days. Down in the Meadow in those days in '93, '94, if you got a little tired of behaving in the circles, you could go out in the Meadow and Chris Chandler would be standing on a truck at like 2 in the morning doing poetry. Or the Billies. For a few years, there's Billies down there, drums in the Meadow, 100 people around them. Later it was Jabbering Trout and Still on the Hill. Those were the days. Those were the days when I would go to the kitchen shed. It wasn't the giant thing it is now. The kitchen shed was I had met a woman that was doing most of the cooking down there at the time, and it was a shed about half as big as this stage. And she told me, don't touch the roof. I said, all right. It would electric shock you. I was trying to look cool. She was a very pretty woman, and I must have touched it 3 times before I actually. But if you know me, you know that that's pretty typical of me. So yeah, I'm a slow learner. Camp Stupid in those days. Ken Gaines would run the circle, and for Big Bob was down there then. But in those days we had no electricity. Big Bob just would take a refrigerator and make it work on propane, which in those days was a big deal. He would make ice cream in the middle of the night because that was cool. You could go to Camp Stupid in the middle and get ice cream. He would also fill up the little green jars of propane. With his propane jar, he had rigged up a thing so you could just go down there and he'd fill it up for free for you. And he's another one of those people that has since passed on, but those were the days. And to this day, Ken Gaines, 30 years, has been running that circle. I've never seen him be rude or mean to anybody. He welcomes everybody there. It was a few years later, I came to Camp Stupid and I told him the joke. The joke was, knock, knock. Yeah. Interrupting cow. And they're still doing that joke. There was a couple of years there where you would be playing a quiet campfire and you'd hear over in the meadow like, moo. It was also there that I said one year, I said, man, you're the kind of guys that ought to have a bar over there. And next year they had a bar over there. That lasted for almost 20 years. You could go to Camp Stupid late at night. And it was also there that they used to, one night a guy showed up in a car at 4 in the morning. You come at 4 in the morning, be the only place up. And Jack Hardy came by and said, one night and said, are you Niki Lehman? David Massagill told me to look for you in Camp California. And we were the only ones awake, and I was the only one still standing. I said, I am Camp California, follow me. So the first year, Jack Hardy camped with us till he found his home at Camp Coho, which he ran for almost 20 years. Another night I was down there, they used to, talking about stupid, they used to bring a piano down here and tune it. They'd bring a truck in here and take the piano off the truck, tune the piano, and it was there for anybody to play. And another time at 4 in the morning, I walked in and this badass piano player was singing Madman Across the Water. And that was Caroline Aiken, who also sang on my CD, No Shoe My Mouth Won't Fit, which we're gonna do tonight. Another night, Steve Brooks. Steve Brooks was there in the early days, and he put a frog over there by Camp Com, and when you walked down the road, it would ribbit at you. So one night I took it, and I left him a hostage message saying that you have to bring us a case of Shinerbach, or you're never going to see your frog again. And he did, and that started a war between Camp Stupid and Camp Can't Agree for 20 years, where they did awful things to cows and frogs. Another time, Little John was there with Jeff, and I borrowed his motorcycle, and I rode around a little bit, thought I was kind of cool. Showed up at Camp Coho, my shirt dangling down, my hair flying, and Karen Mall thought I looked so cool, she hopped on the bike without saying a word, and I took off and rode up the Crow's Nest. I was riding. I thought, man, I am the coolest guy. I got the Queen of Coho on my motorcycle, and I was riding down, and there was Will Taylor going, what? Karen going, that's Camp Stupid. And Crow's Nest. I went down to the first year of Crow's Nest. Still a very holy place. That was when Crow Johnson was still here. A lot of people think that's just from the view, but it was originally named Crow's Nest because Crow Johnson camped there. Nowadays, Brian, you can go up there almost any night. I've been doing it almost 30 years. It would be the last stop at the end of the night when everybody else had got too tired to play anymore. We'd all walk up that hill. Now we take golf carts, but in those days, we didn't have golf carts or phones to check and see who was at the circle. But yeah, we'd walk up to Crow's Nest, and Brian QT and Steve Fisher and Chuck Brodsky would all be playing around the Crow's Nest at 4 in the morning, deep, quiet songs. I remember staggering down from the Crow's Nest one time with Chris Chandler. Sun was coming up. I've seen more sunrises there than probably anywhere in my life. We ended up in front of the Kerr store at the picnic table. And you can always tell the people that have been staying awake all night by the people that just got up. The people that just got up were all brushing their teeth over there. And I said, hey, what's the name of that song that Peter Yarrow does about the dragon? You never saw so many people spit toothpaste out of their mouth and wake up, puff. Chris fell asleep a few minutes later, and I put a sign on his back that said, rub that bald guy's head for good luck, and put a hat out there for him. And He woke up about a half hour later and just looked up, grabbed the money, walked off with the son on his back, didn't say a word. Now that's a guy that's been out on the streets a while. It was right down there where me and Mary Molina led a procession of her bitches through the campground and proclaimed loudly that we were her bitches, me and Dave Crossland and anybody else that was in our Congo line, at every campfire. It was another night where Eric Schwartz led me and Chris Chandler and a few other people into the women's bathroom at 5 in the morning to sing soul tunes. I don't think you're going to run into that at another festival. It was also here where just over there, I fell in love for the very last time. And up there. And down there. It was also where I brought Tink, Darlene here, about 10 years ago. Because I told her within the first week of our relationship, there's something you ought to know about me. I come here every year to this festival in Texas, and I stay there 3 weeks, and the only real relevant question is, are you coming or not? She's been coming for 10 years now, and she still tells a story about her. Well, the first thing she said when we pulled in the gate was, oh my, I'm overdressed. I tried to tell her that, but you can't really tell somebody that, until they get here. She still tells a story about walking down the road, feeling a little flustered after a few days, and a woman walking by her and then stopping in her tracks and running back, giving her a big hug and saying, oh, you just look like you needed a hug. Because that's Kerrville. It was also down here where Drunk Uncle Moonshine was formed in a night with Tom Prasado Rao, Kira Small, Kevin Faherty, Weber, and me. And we broke up, got back together, broke up. Eric Folkworth. We kicked her out of the band because she was too good. And that was an epic night. There was a night just the other day with Ken Gaines where a woman ran up to me as I was driving my cart up to Crow's Nest at 4 in the morning. Said, I need to go ride. And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, this is not a courtesy cart. And she said, I know you, Niki Lehman. You need to give a friend a ride. And then I looked behind her and saw there was a Ken Gaines, a very flustered Ken Gaines going. And we spent the good part of the next half an hour bringing her up the hill and getting her to bed. You know why we did that? Because that's what we do here. This is a special place. In the real world, it's not like this always. But it is like this here. This is holy ground. I've said goodbye to a lot of people here. And I'm going to say goodbye to a lot more. And this is a holy spot for me. That's why I brought my father here. And I'm going to walk up the hill and I'm going to spread his ashes on Crow's Nest. He never made it here, but I know he'd understand. And when I put that little handful of ashes in the Crow's Nest fire, I'm going to say, welcome home, Dad.